that the biggest thing standing between you and the life you want is just starting. Hi, guys. I hope you are doing amazingly well. And I cannot wait to talk about this topic. This is the start of a series that I'm going to do, which is called the Transformation Series. I have been wanting to do something like this for a little while. I did something similar, but I feel like in video format, I'm able to edit and create a different type of messaging that is able to relate a lot more to you. In today's episode, I specifically want to talk about the action behind things because at the end of everything, I could give you as many tips as humanly possible about beauty, fitness, goal achievement, and everything. But if you don't want it, if you don't put the action into it, you're never going to do it. So that's why this is the first video. I want you to first get into the mind of getting into the action, and I'm going to guide you through it. So come on and let's get started. So, one of the first things that I really want to talk about is the pain points. So, the pain points, a lot of people have them. We all have this reason of being stuck. Oh, I'll start tomorrow. I'll start next week. Oh, I'll start good on the beginning of that year. We all do it. That's why New Year's resolutions exists. That's why programs like Beach Bodies and all kinds of others exist, is to kind of get you into that thing of like, I'm going to start in the beginning of this particular day. But then when that day reaches, you don't do it. I'll do it next week. It's very, very typical to see, especially around the holiday times. You might want to actually start working out. You may even be looking into gym memberships. Perhaps you got a warning from your doctor because of your health, but you haven't done anything about it. Oh, I'll do it in the beginning of the year. I still want to enjoy the holidays. I still want to enjoy my time with my family and eating the sweets and overindulging. Or you are afraid. There's always a fear underlying on something. Maybe because you feel like you're not good enough to achieve it, or because you feel like you don't know enough. There's all kinds of reasons why we don't do what we wish to do. But at the same time, it takes momentum. I talked in the previous episode about the difference in between motivation, determination, and ambition. And the reality here is you need to build up some momentum. You're not going to go overnight from going to zero gym to 100% every day. You're not going to go from being a serious procrastinator that waits until the very last second to do something to being someone that is highly organized and does everything on schedule and perhaps even early. You're not going to be able to do it overnight because you have spent your whole life doing something completely different. You are not going to go from 0 to 100. So you need to start by small steps. I talked in the previous episode as well that I am someone that I like to pick up my goals and break them down into small chunks. How about we do an example, the two of us? Let's assume that you want to start going to the gym. You just got yourself a gym membership, so that's job done. And perhaps maybe you made it slightly easier for yourself by being either close to home or close to your job. You might go for a week, but then you start to lose the want of going. It happens to everyone. That's why gyms have a peak in January and most drop out by March. The ones that tend to stay, they might stay till summer. Very few go all the way to doing a whole year cycle. So here's how you keep it up. You need to make it fun. You need to make it exciting. You need to actually build up the momentum to go. Most of the times by setting up small steps, by making it easier somehow. So how do you make it easier? For example, if you actually go close to your house, make sure that right next to your head is the gym stuff. Your bag is already packed. Your water is already chilled in the fridge if you like cold water. Your clothes are right there in the bathroom. You're ready to go. Everything is right there close to your hand for you to do it. But I always snooze my alarm. Okay, so how can we do that? Well, you could get a sunrise alarm, which will bring up the light in the room, making it so that you wake up naturally because your body starts to get hit with light, which makes your circadian rhythm pop up and wake up. Or if you don't want to spend any extra cash, pick up your alarm and put it across the room. It's going to force you to have to get up to actually click the alarm, and by that point you're already standing, so most likely you're not going to go back to bed, and you're going to feel the need of saying, you know what, I might as well just go. Another great trick that I've heard from multiple people is actually booking a class. If you book a class and pay for it, or even if your gym has classes and you already marked it on the app, you're going to feel bad to go back to the app and having to click that you're not going to go. So that will be a great opportunity for you to go ahead and do what you got to do. Also, you could get a buddy. A lot of people feel like they're alone in all of this when they're not. Sometimes getting a friend or a family member that could go with you and both working on a similar goal, who knows? It may actually not only encourage you to continue further, but that way you're creating accountability for both of you. And that stands for any goal that you have, any wish that you want, whether it be improving anything on the mental, emotional, physical, or even any goals that you may have in terms of work, in terms of school, in terms of relationships, not only to others, but even yourself. And be aware, you have the short-term goals, medium-term goals, the long-term goals, and the lifetime goals. Are you sure that the goal that we are talking about is the one that we should be talking about for a year? For a month? Those are two different times. I have short-term goals, but I also have longer term, like what I want to do in a year's time. I also have 5-year goals, 10-year goals, and lifetime, as in, like, I want to make sure I do them before my head doesn't get up from the bed anymore. And at the same time, I also know that you wish to do your goals. If that wasn't the case, you wouldn't be watching my video. So how can we go about turning the goal into a reality? First, we need to break down the barriers. What are you afraid of? Most likely, what's stopping you is fear of failure. Let me make one thing clear. Fear of failure is one of the hardest fears to go through. Everyone is plagued by it at some point in their lives. But I was always taught that you only fail if you quit. Because let me make one thing clear. Let me give you guys an example from my own personal life. I really wanted to shift my life from the job that I used to do to the job that I do now. I wanted to go from being in the beauty industry to being in the wellness industry. I didn't know exactly what I wanted, and then when I finally pinned it down, I had a goal to achieve. I wanted to get into the best college that I could for the area of nutrition. Now, how do I do that? I was 28 years old at the time when I had the idea. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what the best college was, and I didn't know where to start. Besides, I came from arts and cosmetics. I knew nothing about science. And what I knew was mainly common knowledge and my own personal search. So, I first started by figuring out what I wanted. Once I pinpointed on nutrition, okay, let me look up the colleges that contain that degree. Once I pinpointed all the options that I had within the area of my living, I tried to figure out the two best ones. I actually found 3, but one of them had to get scrapped because it didn't give me the ability to get in, not only with the grades that I had from 12th grade, but also they weren't really aligning with my personal tastes when it came to their actual structure. So I was in between 2 of them, but I was with one in a slightly bigger pedestal than the other. So how do you go about choosing? I ended up trying for both. One I didn't got in the first round. The other one I failed on the exams. So now we're back to square one. Not particularly. I'm not back at square one because now I know how each individual college works on their candidacy process. I know what I need to do, I know what I need to study, and I'm better prepared this time around. I haven't failed because I haven't given up. So we go ahead and we start now with a slightly bigger step than we were before. We get back, study some more, and I get in on my preferred one. I was so excited that I literally screamed at work from just the pure excitement. And after the scream, I ended up crying. So it's a whole story. What matters here in the end is that I didn't give up. I'm 29 years old right now. 2025 is the year of the 95 babies turning 30. We be. And the reality here is that I'm going to turn 30 and I'm going to be doing it as I finish my first year of college out of 4 years. And the reality here is it is very difficult to get in. It is not an easy path to follow. But if I had given up and just chose to not do anything else, I would have stayed with the dream, not with the reality. Because being afraid of failing is just an illusion. Because what happens here is that you set the perfectionism of wanting to do more, of wanting it to do the right way. But there's no right way of doing things. There's no right or wrong. There's just doing it or not doing it. And let me tell you why. If people were to give up just because something wasn't exactly on the set stone, a lot of things would have not been made. We all know the stories of the Googles and Microsofts of the world that started in a garage. If they had waited to have their big, enormous warehouse building, they would have never done it. And that is the same thing for your goals. Why are you waiting for the perfect day? Oh, I want to start walking outside. But you start in January where it's foggy, rainy, cold, it's uncomfortable. If you want to do it like in the brink of the morning, being a 5 a.m. clubber, you put your nose out of the window, you freeze. And that is the reality. But you're going to give up and not go on the run that you promised yourself you'd do at 5 o'clock in the morning? You either have to be more realistic and maybe instead of 5, you're going to go at 7 because by then the sun is slowly starting to come up. At least it's a little bit more sunnier or trying to be. And at least you're going to sleep in a little more. You're going to feel a bit more rested. And that way you're actually going to feel better to go. You're not going to feel forced. You may actually feel compelled to go. And that is the same thing for anything that you do. Why are you waiting to eat better for your health because maybe you had a diabetes scare, because maybe you're pre-diabetic? You can still try to turn it around if you wish to. Same thing with cardiovascular issues. Maybe you have family that got cancer and you're afraid you're going to get it. Maybe you have been meaning to stop smoking for years. Maybe the first step is you calling up a doctor and saying, hey, I want to stop smoking. What are the steps to do so? But you have been neglecting it and you haven't been doing it. Most likely because you're also overwhelmed. You have done so many ideas and so many lists of what you want to do. And I want to do this and I want to do that. And your New Year's resolution list is 20 bullet points or 30 or 40 or 50, or you have this massive goal of I need to lose X or I need to achieve X. And it's such a huge goal that it's so difficult to achieve. It's like you would have to be from day one the most unprocrastinating, most ambitious, most determined, most. But people are human and they're not the most. Not all the time. Even the best and most have their off days. A big example that I give, especially when you talk with athletes, they have days off. They have cheat days. They have different phases throughout the year where they do relax and rest. And they also have their bad days. One very big example for those that are in the sports know how, I think everyone knows who Cristiano Ronaldo is. And the reality here is that he went through a very tragic moment a couple while back. But he somehow had to persevere and go to do the games after losing a baby. It is not an easy moment, and anyone with a compassionate heart would tell him to just take it easy. He did take a little bit of time for himself, but then right after a little while, he went back into doing his job. And that is the same thing for you. You are so overwhelmed with everything that you either do one of two things. You either completely give up on it, or you collapse in a wall of just not knowing what you should do or where you should turn to. And there's ways to change that. First, you need an action plan. So what do I mean by an action plan? If you have 5 goals that you really want to achieve, break each individual one of those goals into 10 smaller branches of said goal. And then for each individual goal, create steps or routines or habits that you should add to actually achieve it. Let me give you guys an example. Let's imagine that your goal is to gain more muscle. Okay, so now you're going to break that down to others. Okay, so for me to build muscle, what do I need? Okay, I will need a gym membership so that I can actually go and be able to do said thing. I need to organize my schedule so that I'm able to make time for the gym. I need to prioritize my sleep to be able to build muscle, because if I don't sleep enough, it's not going to build it. Also, I need to set up my daily routine so that it actually allows me to go ahead and do it. And I need to get my butt off of the bed to actually go ahead and do it. Besides, I should also focus on my nutrition and get really good meals with a higher protein intake. I should amp up my water content, not only to help flush out the toxins naturally through my kidneys, but also to help rehydrate my body after a strong workout. Perhaps I don't have enough gym clothes or anything at all, so maybe perhaps I should buy those. Maybe I should get a buddy, a friend, or a trainer or someone to help me out in the process. And also figure out which muscles I would like to focus on most in terms of my constitution. And just like that, 10 micro goals. 10 micro goals that you can do in less than a week to start the major goal of building muscle. Because if I were to tell you to build muscle, you'd be like, okay, how do I start to do that? But maybe you need to set up certain things first before you go ahead and do that. So that way you start your action plan. And also, you need to be consistent. A mistake that I see a lot of people do is that they really want to do it, they aren't consistent about it. If you want to go to school and you want to study and you want to go to college, you have to be aware that you're going to have to study daily to actually keep up with everything. And that is because once it reaches exam season, you're going to have everything just condensed into a space of 2 to 3 weeks. You're not going to have time to be doing deep study work. That should be done before, while you're still getting everything nice and fresh. Same thing with anything else. If you want to go ahead and go to the gym and either gain muscle or lose fat or whatever other thing that you wish to do there, you need to be consistent and have a routine. 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 4, whatever you wish. You need to be consistent about it. Put it in your calendar, set up your alarm, do whatever you need to actually achieve it. If you aren't consistent and you don't go ahead and show up for yourself and you do it on the daily, weekly, and monthly basis, you're not going to be able to actually finish the year or years doing the goal that you wish to have. So consistency is one of the major keys as well. One thing that I want to come across is that it doesn't need to be amazing at the start. I can tell you guys a story. The person that you see right now talking to you is a completely different person from what I was around 5 years ago. The reason for it is very simple. I went through a bout of depression for many, many years during my 18 to 21s. At some point, I was even so depressed that I thought of unaliving myself. The reality here is that I was so depressed because I wasn't happy with anything that I was doing. I had a budding career in the cosmetic industry. I was working in all kinds of places. I was exploring other pathways of my life, but I felt completely alone. It took me literally the world shutting down to realize how depressed, anxious, and panic-ridden I was. I had such deep trauma in different areas of my life that I couldn't even hold a conversation. I couldn't look people in the eye. I hated looking at myself in the mirror. I couldn't even accept it how I looked. I was hiding behind the mask of doing my hair and doing my makeup and dressing in all black just to blend in. But in the end, I actually stuck out like a sore thumb. People around me could tell that I wasn't who I used to be. I wasn't a happy, bubbly, jolly person that I used to be. I was the type of person that I would laugh out loud and I wouldn't care what anyone thought of it. I was someone that if a beat went on and I liked the music, I would dance to it, no questions asked. I used to be able to look at people in the eye and hold a conversation, and I became almost agoraphobic. My social battery would drain really fast and I wouldn't be able to deal with anything. And don't get me started with actually screaming at my family and being rude and just wanting to isolate myself. And it took a long time to actually change it because I would have the same issues as you are currently having right now. Fear of failing, perfectionism, overwhelm, because I just thought I wasn't good enough. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't able to do it. I did it before. Why would I do it again? If it failed before, it's probably going to fail again. I had what ifs after what ifs after what ifs going on my head. I constantly had this sensation of what am I doing? What is the point of this? The point is how happy I am now. And how happy you can be if you do the thing you actually want to do. Because the point of my conversation with you is not to guide you in a particular direction, to look a particular way, to act or feel or be a particular person. It's for you to realize what you want. I'm here as a little bell, little whisper, letting you know that it's okay. Letting you know that you can and you should and you shall. Letting you know that you have the permission slip to do it. That you have someone out there letting you know that you can and you will. Because at the end of the day, once you put your head on your pillow, who is with you? Yourself. And I have nothing, absolutely nada to say about friends, about family, because I know that I had people there for me. But once they were all gone, who can I count with? Who can I rely? And I can rely on myself. Because at the end of the day, yes, they can give me all the support and love and encouragement in the world. But if I don't want to change, I'm not changing. If I don't put my foot down and I say, this is it, I am not doing it. Because you could literally have your family cook for you, clean for you, do everything for you, telling you you don't need to go to work. You can just focus on this. You're still not going to do it if you haven't put your mind into it. And because you haven't put your mind into it, you haven't done it yet. That's why I wanted to do this series. I wanted for this first episode to be the one where I call you into action. But I also know that transforming oneself has different facets. So I am going to talk about different facets of changing to try to broaden as much as I humanly can. And because I know that mindset is a very big block along with the emotional side of things, I actually want to do that episode next. I'm going to talk about the mental and the emotional part in my next episode next week. So I will ask you, if you're still struggling with the mental and emotional side of it, please stay tuned for next week's episode. And I cannot wait to see you turn your life around and be the person that you really want to be and achieve what you wish you want to achieve. I love you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.